The chairman of the Assembly Judiciary Committee is calling for an investigation of the relationship between the State Film Development Commission and Teamsters Local 560, which once was headed by convicted murderer Anthony Tony Provenzano. Steve Taylor has more.
Tuesday night on this program, we told you about the arrangement between the New Jersey Motion Picture and Television Development Commission and Local 560. That's the local which many law enforcement officers call a classic study in labor racketeering. Robert Lutzy, who runs 560's Motion Picture Division, says he has a personal commitment to Governor Byrne to help bring movie makers into the state. That same Robert Lutzy, who also raises money to help pay Tony Pro's legal expenses, has himself served time for breaking and entering and larceny. Film Development Commission Director Joseph Friedman told us that 560's reputation is not the concern of the commission, but Assembly Judiciary Committee Chairman Martin Herman isn't so sure. Today, he called on Attorney General John Degnan to investigate 560's ties to the Film Board.
The whole pitch with the movie industry coming back to New Jersey is New Jersey is a nice place to be, a good place to work, and that we're nice people to do business with. If we're going to go with that old age adage that person's identified with the friends he keeps, I guess we should have reason for concern.
And Herman has asked that the Attorney General report the results of his investigation to the Judiciary Committee. In Trenton, I'm Steve Taylor.
The Attorney General's office is looking into the close working relationship between the State Film and Television Development Commission and Teamsters Local 560, which is said to be mob-dominated. That relationship was detailed in a joint report last week by New Jersey Nightly News and New Jersey Magazine. The Attorney General's office has sent state investigators to talk to Bob Windrum, the co-producer of our report and the author of the magazine article. The investigators are trying to collect additional information on Local 560. Spokesman for the Attorney General declined to characterize what's happening as an investigation, but we're waiting to see what happens next. Local 560 is the target of another probe. The New York Daily News reports that at least 60 Teamsters union officials will be called before a U.S. grand jury in Newark. The grand jury wants to know just how much control Anthony Tony Provenzano still has over the local he once headed. It also wants to know about alleged payoffs the union collected from steamship lines and trucking firms in exchange for protection against labor problems. Local 560 has 13,000 members, making it one of the largest and richest Teamster locals in the country.
Federal authorities have reopened and expanded their probe of Union City Teamsters Local 560. The local, one of the most powerful in the country, is dominated by the family of jailed labor boss Anthony Provenzano. Tony Pro, as he's called, has been the target of labor racketeering probes for more than a decade. And just last May in Newark, he was sentenced to 20 years in federal prison on charges of extortion and conspiracy. Tony Pro also faces charges in the 1961 murder of a union rival. But federal prosecutors are refusing comment on the newest probe. Reportedly, the focus is the shakedown by union officials of numerous trucking companies. The government is also said to be considering charges of wire and mail fraud. And a federal grand jury in Newark has been examining allegations that union members were forced to make contributions to Provenzano's defense fund. Tony Pro's brothers, Nunzio and Salvatore, have run Local 560 since Provenzano was first jailed in the early 60s.
Former Teamsters boss Anthony Tony Provenzano, currently serving a life term for murder, left jail briefly today and pleaded innocent to federal racketeering charges. Jeffrey Hall reports.
Provenzano was all smiles this morning when federal marshals led him into U.S. court in Newark. Provenzano and 4 former union associates, including Stephen Andretta, a business agent for Teamsters Local 560 in Union City, are charged with shaking down containerized cargo shipping lines in exchange for union peace. Inside the courtroom, Judge Frederick Lacey refused to set bail for Provenzano since he's already serving a life prison term for arranging the murder of a union rival. The other suspects were released on their own recognizance. Provenzano and the others are said to have started up a paper or non-existent trucking operation in 1969. The idea was to charge companies over which the Teamsters had influence huge sums of money for services that were never performed. In reality, the companies were allegedly buying labor quiet on the docks. Authorities say Provenzano and the others bilked at least $70,000 out of sea train lines alone. If convicted, each defendant could face up to 40 years in jail and fines of up to $50,000 each. Defense attorneys are concerned that their clients will not get a fair trial. Nevertheless, Judge Lacey has tentatively set an April 24th trial date. Outside the federal courthouse in Newark, I'm Jeffrey Hall.
In Newark, the racketeering trial of Anthony Tony Provenzano went into overtime today, an apparent attempt to speed up the long court process. With 60 witnesses to be heard and the jury sequestered, Federal Judge Curtis Meaner ordered the rare Saturday sessions to be held. In today's testimony, the jury heard from two men who said they'd worked for Ralph Picardo. Picardo, the prosecution's key witness in the Tony Pro case, has already testified that he was the go-between in Provenzano's alleged conspiracy to shake down trucking companies in exchange for labor peace. Defense attorneys for former Teamsters boss Provenzano contend Picardo's offering false testimony in an attempt to escape his own problems with the law. In today's proceedings, one Picardo associate testified his boss had carried paper bags to Teamster Local 560 in Union City. The witness said Picardo always referred to the bag's contents as tuna fish sandwiches, and always with a smile. Despite the Saturday sessions, the Tony Pro trial is expected to continue as long as 4 weeks.
The man convicted of taking payoffs from trucking firms to keep peace with a Teamsters local was sentenced to 7 years in prison and fined $50,000 today. Irving Kotler was convicted in April of taking the bribes on behalf of Teamsters Local 560 president Nunzio Provenzano. Provenzano's brother Salvatore and Michael Chiara, the local's business agent, were acquitted of the charges. U.S. District Judge H. Lee Sarakin said parts of the videotapes played during the trial remained vivid in his mind, especially one scene where Kotler complained that a payoff was $2 short. Kotler was accused of taking $187,000 from 4 trucking companies. Defense lawyers said they would appeal the sentence, but Judge Sarakin said the evidence against the 69-year-old Kotler was, in his words, overwhelming.
The U.S. Attorney's Office in Newark, in an unprecedented move, is seeking temporary control of a Union City Teamsters local, which federal authorities say has been ruled through intimidation and extortion. Diane Doctor reports.
The U.S. Attorney's Office is acting under the RICO statute, laws enacted by Congress to fight organized crime. In the past, there have been many cases brought under criminal provisions of the statute, but never under civil provisions. The target is Teamsters Local 560 in Union City. Past and present union officials are the defendants. That includes Anthony Tony Provenzano, currently serving a 20-year sentence at a California federal pen for his 1979 racketeering conviction in Newark. U.S. Attorney W.H. Dumont's office, under civil provisions of the RICO statute, is seeking a court-supervised election at the union and the removal of current union officials. Dumont obtained an order from U.S. District Court Judge H. Curtis Meaner requiring union officials to show cause why the government should not take this action.
And I want to make it quite clear that this is not an effort by this office to bust up a union. We are simply seeking to root out corruption.
In addition to Anthony Provenzano, the defendants include his brother, Salvatore Provenzano, current union president. Also named another brother and former union president, Nunzio Provenzano. The union secretary-treasurer, Josephine Provenzano Settembre, is also included. She's Tony Pro's married daughter. 9 other officers and associates of the local are on the list. The government's plan, which the union will answer in court March 22nd, calls for a court-appointed trustee to run the local's day-to-day operations and supervise a new election.
The individual members have had no voice in this union since the mid-1960s, that there has been no opposition at any union election since 1965, and in effect, they have not been allowed to exert their democratic rights in the union.
Dumont admits the government's strategy has changed from seeking individual criminal convictions to attacking what he calls a broader problem of a union local held captive by intimidation and fear.
Sources close to the case say it has been 4 years in the making, and this could be the beginning of similar actions against other corrupt unions, both here and across the country. Officials at Teamsters Local 560 had no comment today. In Newark, I'm Diane Doctor.